What is up, beautiful people of YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. So, if you're new to the channel, my name's Nick, and on this channel, I build bikes, I ride bikes, and I travel the country bringing you guys on all my adventures. So, if you can do me a favor, if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead, bang that subscribe button, give this video a thumbs up, and comment below, what kind of bike are you riding? So, in today's video, we are going to talk about some of the financial mistakes that I've made on this bike, some of the things I've learned on this bike, and moving forward, what I'm going to do differently on the next chopper, because I have another Sportster sitting over here that will be getting chopped at some point, maybe this winter. But I've learned a lot through building this bike, and there's been a lot of products that have come out since I've built this bike that will change how I build the next one. So first up, we're going to start with the Moto Iron front end from TC Bros. Love it. That Springer front end, it rides wonderful. The only thing I would have changed on this build is I went with the black because I felt like I wanted the bike all blacked out. The powder coating on that front end is a little bit thin, and a few of the places it's just kind of from some contact has chipped off. I really feel like the chrome front end wouldn't have had that same problem, so if I had to do it again, I would have put the chrome front end on it. My next chopper, I've got a perfectly fine narrow glide front end that I'm going to run. This one, I had a set of bent forks, so I went ahead and replaced it with a Springer front end. Next up, the Hardtail kit that I used. There are a bunch of different companies who build Hardtail kits, and they are all, not all, most of them are wonderful. I used the TC Bros, I really liked it. Lead Sled Customs makes a great one. Throttle Addiction, Lowbrow, Prism Design has a great one. I really like the look of the Prism Design. If I don't use that one, I think my next one will be the Lowbrow. What I like with the Lowbrow is it's actually already pre-drilled to run your wiring through it all. The Prism Design one, I think, is the sharpest looking one. Throttle Addiction has a wonderful kit, though, where you get the oil tank, the fender, the hardtail, and it's all like $1,600. You pretty much get everything, the sissy bar, and it all comes ready for you to put together. So there's a lot of different options out there. TC Bros is wonderful. I bought it because it was like the cheapest I could find. I got it on a Black Friday sale. But the next one, I think I'm going to go with the Lowbrow. Next up is the oil tank. So I bought a lot of these parts on a TC Bros Black Friday sale, and just some newer stuff's come out since then, and it would be a total pain to change some of these things on this bike. I'm talking cutting, welding, painting. So on the next bike, some of these things are going to be different, and the oil tank is one of those. So TC Bros only had two styles of oil tank. One was a cylinder with flat ends, which is what I used, and the other is a pill style. Now the problem is, you can see it right there, is with where that oil tank has to ride on a Sportster, depending on what forwards you have, your leg can actually kind of ride on top of it. It gets a little hot. With the TC Bros forwards, I had that issue. With Harley Davidson forwards, I don't have that issue. The Harley wants to sit just a little bit further back, so I end up with a decent gap for my leg. It's not an issue. But after I built this bike, they came out with a horseshoe style tank, and my next build will feature a horseshoe style tank. So that way the tank is all contained up under the seat. Shouldn't be an issue. The exhaust. The exhaust that I have on the bike is the exhaust that I wanted, which was the Palco gooseneck exhaust or the Palco fishtails. But when I built the bike, I kind of tried to cut a corner and save some money, and I went with some cheap $100 exhaust that I ended up modifying, and it worked fine, but ultimately kept nagging at me that I wanted this Palco exhaust, and it's an expensive exhaust. It's like $550. Knowing myself, I should have never spent the $100 because, like, eventually I'm going to put what I want on there, which just makes that $100 I spent money thrown away. So sure enough, I ended up putting the Palco exhaust on it and pulled off the V-Force, I think, maybe, I don't know, V-Factor, something. I got it from Dennis Kirk, and it's just sitting in a bucket of parts now. So that's money I will never see again. I wasted it because I tried to be cheap and save a little money, and in the end, I wasn't thrilled, and I bought what I originally wanted. So, money gone. Next up, the largest failure I've had on this bike, of my own doing, thing that I would change the most. was my seat setup. Let me grab the original seat setup. So originally, I had this seat with these TC Bros airbags. Again, nothing that TC Bros has done wrong here. This was all my own fault. So the issue I had with the seat was it's ended up sitting at an angle like this, and I was constantly sliding off the back. It made the bike very difficult to ride, and the reason that was the angle of my hardtail and these airbags. These airbags equate to about 2-inch springs. Knowing what I know now and measuring, if I had 5-inch springs, everything would have worked. So if I would have just, I got hooked on wanting airbags. Figured, cool, it's a hardtail, it looks great, and we get a little bit of suspension out of it. And because I got fixated on these, I just didn't pay attention to other things that I should have, and ultimately it cost me a lot of money. And I will go through why this all cost me money. So these airbags, they were not cheap. The setup wasn't. And then that seat, when that didn't work, I thought it was an issue with the seat. Again, I was kind of blinded by really wanting airbags on it. So I went to this Rich Phillips seat. As you see, it's got the shelf on the back. I was like, cool, that's going to stop me from sliding off. Well, it doesn't help you if the seat is still angled like this, because we only have 2 inches of spring when we needed 5 inches. This is my fault. Rich Phillips makes a wonderful seat. These are made right here in St. Louis, and I love the seat. I'll probably use it on the next bike. It's a very comfortable seat, but I kept having the issue of sliding off the back. Again, nothing TC Bros did wrong until I bought it through. Nothing Rich Phillips Leather did wrong. It's my own fault for not really seeing what the issue was. So after spending, I think, $300 on this seat, I spent another $300 and went to a rigid mounted Cobra seat. Again, not measuring, not looking, not doing my due diligence. I figured, cool, this will sit like this. I'll be comfortable, got this, can't slide back. Reality is this set more like this, and I actually ended up riding right about here, which hammered my tailbone. I got this from TC Bros. It's a great seat, good quality. So I went out on a 2 or 3 hour ride with that seat, and it hammered my tailbone because I was kind of riding between those two segments there. And I probably spent like a week and a half limping. I could barely walk. I thought I had herniated a disc in my back. Ultimately, that's not what happened. My back was just really sore from my tailbone being hammered for 2 to 3 hours. I ended up putting an Airhawk pad in that void, and that helped quite a bit, but I would still, from time to time, the pad would shift around, and I'd get this hammering in my tailbone, and I just wasn't thrilled with it. So after that, I went to the LaPera Signature 2 that is on there right now, and I love that seat. It's rigid mounted. It works great. As you see, it's got this high back on it that stops me from sliding off. The only issue I have is the pillion pad, because the seat sits further back. The pillion pad does not fit, and to fix that, I would have to move my sissy bar back, drill a new set of holes for the sissy bar, and then I would have to fill the holes where that went, and some repainting. It would be a lot of work, and with the metal flake on this, I'd pretty much have to restrip that entire fender and repaint it. It'd be a lot of work. So, all because I failed to measure for what size springs I needed. I've spent about $1,500 on seats to solve a problem that I probably could have solved for about $100. But that's my biggest failure on this bike, and I want you guys to avoid this. So if you can go out and ride somebody else's chopper, or go to some kind of bike event where you can see how different choppers are put together and kind of figure out what you want in a seat. So moving forward, the next bike I build, I'm hoping to not have any of these problems. I learned a lot on this build, but ultimately my goal here is to save you guys money and share my failures with you guys so that you don't have that issue. Last but not least, didn't really cost me money, it cost me time. I have moved from forwards to mids to forwards, back to mids, to a different set of forwards in as I moved through the seats, kind of chasing what was comfortable for me. So originally I had TC Bro forwards on there. Love them, they're great. But I was a little too stretched. I think they sit just a little bit more forward than Harley forwards do. After that, I had a set of TC Bro mids laying around in my bucket of parts that came off of another Sportster. I put those on, and for around town, they were phenomenal. Going over bumps and stuff, you could stand up on them. They were great. But anytime I set out to put some serious seat time on, my hips would bind up. They didn't work great for me. So I actually pulled the Harley forwards off of my green Sportster that's sitting behind me, put these on, and they sit back just a little bit further than the TC Bro forwards, and that all works great. So that's going to be my setup for riding this bike to Ohio. Other than all that, I'm just absolutely thrilled with the bike. I think we've got everything ironed out. I think we've got the oil leak fixed. Everything seems pretty squared away. I kept seeing some metallic flake in the oil, which I was very nervous about because, as you know, if you've been around, this engine did blow up and I completely rebuilt it. So it's had 3 oil changes now, and I kept seeing metallic flake in the oil. I think that's something to do with this oil tank maybe needing to be cleaned out. I took the filter off the bike, I cut the filter open, and I checked the filter media. All the oil that is running through the filter is perfectly clean. There is no signs of metal in that filter. So the only place I'm seeing that sparkle is in the oil tank. I don't know if it's just something from the manufacturing process or whatever, but I'm really confident this bike's going to make it. Watch that be famous last words. Well, guys, that's going to wrap this video up. I'm really hoping to see some of you guys at the Lowbrow Get Down. That's the weekend of June 25th, and I'm riding this chopper 600 miles there and 600 miles back. Unless it breaks down, who knows, but knock on wood, it makes it. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you watching. If you could do me a huge favor, give this video a thumbs up, comment below, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, and in the description box, there's links to all of our social media, as well as our company website, Headstalls.com, where we sell everything over horses, and there's a 5% off discount code. I will see you all in the next one. I'm out of here.